everybody, I'm going to test an amp today, but I'm going to do it my way. And that means it's going to be super complicated for no reason. That's right, I have a lot of mics, and the reason I'm going to do that is because this is the Sundragon Nymph, Jimmy Page's fucking amp. That's right, you want to hear it every which way possible, and I'm going to give it to you. Let's hear a little bit right now. Dark. Good. Yes. All right, let's dive in. Sundragon amplifiers. It's Jimmy Page's amplifier company. I did not even know he had an amplifier company, but Sundragon reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to try some of these amps? And I'm not being paid for this, but I decided, yes, this would be super fun. And remember when I said I was going to make it complicated for no reason? There actually is a reason. I wanted to be able to show the different layers and textures in the sound creation. When Jimmy Page was in the studio, he was known for being very adept with miking techniques and using the sound of the room within the recording. So I wanted to be able to do some of that while I was testing this amplifier. So this little Nymph amplifier is a 1-watt amplifier, which can also be run at a 1/4 watt. And it has a switchable gain stage. It's got 3 phases, and you can get all kinds of different sounds with this. So what I want to do today is incorporate some of Jimmy's miking ideas, similar tools that he might be familiar with, including using his actual signature model Les Paul. So what do we have? We have a vintage U67, which he often liked to use away from the cabinet, not right on it, a couple feet back maybe. Now, we've got that. We've got a mic very close up so you can have the sound that you're familiar with, a 57 right on the cone here. And we've got something unique, a U48 Telefunken that's behind the amp. And we also have this EV356 shotgun mic, which is usually used to do dialogue recording in film. But I chose that one because I saw a picture of Led Zeppelin in the studio. They had a picture of that particular mic hanging right over the drum kit like this. So why don't we try this with the guitar and see what we get? Okay, everybody, there's a lot to grok in this. Now, here's what I have to do. I have to explain to you the complicated thing that I'm going to try to simplify so you can really get an idea of what we're about to do in real time. I'm using the UTA GB tracker, which allows me to record my guitar and hear it through the amplifier. But if I wanted to make changes after the fact, let's say I like the performance, but I want to make it sound different, I can flip a switch and I can send it back through the amp, and then in real time, I can actually change the sound of the amp. I can turn the knobs, I can give it more gain, less gain. I could even move microphones if I want to, and I'll be able to hear the differences while I put on headphones, but you'll be able to hear them through your speakers or headphones. And this is the thing that I really wanted to try to do, something that would give me the ability to hear real results in real time and have you follow along at the same time with me. All right, did you understand what I was saying? In a nutshell, I'm going to play some stuff, but I'm going to have the ability to change the sound if I don't like what I recorded, and we can hear the results in real time. Are you ready? Let's get to it. When you're using a small amp and you have microphones next to the speaker, you have to imagine that the speaker is already smaller. It's an 8-inch speaker that's in here, and any microphone that's going to be close to that speaker is going to pick up more surface area than a bigger speaker. So this is the case with a bigger diaphragm microphone that you have here with the U67. If it was closer up, it would just be grabbing a bigger swath of that speaker. Now, I bring this to your attention because that kind of stuff makes a difference in the character of the sound, and it also has to do with the proximity of the microphone. The proximity effect gives you more bass response, and you're going to get some more gush out of it. Now, I want you to think about all these things because this is how you get a unique layered sound. This is what Jimmy would have done in the studio. He would have tried placing microphones in different places, and try to get the character of the sound of the amp in the room, combine that to make a unique recording. And really, that's the most important thing to consider from back in the day anyway. If you wanted to sound different, you had to do something different. These days, everybody presses a button, they use the same stuff, and they feel like, oh, it's cool. But back then, to sound different, you might have had to cut a hole in a speaker and make it distort and do something crazy. I think Jimmy did that once. Anyway, this is the cool thing. We're going to test this amp now, and I'm going to show you in real time the basics of what this has to offer in terms of gain and tone, because there's only two big knobs on here. One's for gain, one's for tone. You have a three-way switch that gives you 3 different amounts of gain for the amp, and we'll hear that. Plus, you can switch it between a 1/4 watt and a full 1 watt. So let's go ahead and start listening. I'm just going to play the E string here, and we'll go ahead and see what it sounds like with the gain. So it's got that kind of Jimmy Page feel right there, and that's the least amount of gain. Let's go to switch 2. Ready? So here's number 3, as if you needed more gain. This is a real Swiss Army knife already. That's a lot of gain for a little amp, and that's a really quiet sound. But here's the thing, it feels like a big amp. Everything that you want to feel from a big amp in a room where it's just creating so much volume, you get the push. You have that immediate reaction with the amplifier, and the guitar really responds, but it also cleans up very well. So even with the maximum amount of gain, I'm going to roll my volume off and let's see what happens. So that's probably more gain than he ever used. But I'm going to go to the least amount of gain, and I want to just talk about some complex chord harmonics, and let's see how well it does. So this is such a cool thing. I just have to share this with you. This guitar has some weird switches on it that I don't really know how they all work, but there are certain places you can play on the guitar and play complex chords where the harmonics are so even and clear that even if you have complexity, you hear all the tones, but it's accentuated by this amplifier. So if you take a chord, let's say like this chord that I played earlier. It reacts to whatever you're playing. I love it. So Jimmy Page clearly had certain things that he wanted to be able to do with a regular guitar, and no doubt probably with a 12-string, which I'm going to check on that later. But this is one of the things this amp already excels at. I think I want to go ahead and try to play to a track and see how it fits in the track. We've only basically just heard it in the room right now. And the cool thing is, if I don't like the tone that I record on this pass, I can reamp it with the GB tracker right back through this and turn the knobs and change the sound in real time, see what we think. Now, the piece of music I'm going to play on is a track called Donkey Problems. And it's called Donkey Problems because of this part right here. This sounds like a donkey to me. And that is also one of Jimmy Page's coolest moves, where he bends into the A chord. That part right there. So I incorporated the feeling of that and made it into Donkey Problems, which features Chris Novoselic from Nirvana and Ryan Brown, my drummer, who plays with me on tour. All right, all that out of the way, gonna put on some headphones and we're gonna try to play to Donkey Problems. Let's see what it sounds like. All right, here we go. All right, so right there, I have recorded a guitar part. Now, I have to keep these on so I can hear the difference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reamp it through the amp and start changing the sound. And I'll just do it one mic at a time so we can hear what they sound like. So here's the first one, which is the 57. That sounds pretty good to me. I didn't play it great, but that's all right. We're gonna be doing all kinds of things to this track. Let's hear the next one. This is the U67. Here we go. That's got a cool vibe. It's distance, you know, it's not right on it, so that's cool. All right, now here's one of the oddballs. That's this one. Let's see what it sounds like. So that EV356 has a cool mid-range thing that's different than either of those. And now let's hear behind the amp with the talkback mic, this guy here, the U48. That also has a cool vibe. And here's the weirdest of them. This is the line out, which is basically the direct sound of this amp. Here we go. That one can get real fuzzy and it's pretty cool. I like it. All right, so just for the sake of experimentation, I will re-record the 57, but I will change the sound of the amp. And let's go ahead and hear it in real time as I play through it. All right, so it's going to reamp now, coming back through this in the room. played with it and I heard the tone changing a lot, the gain changing a lot, but right now, what I'm gonna do is re-record it where I have just left the settings, which was a little more gain and a little brighter, and I'm gonna just record it back in, leave the other tracks the way they were. All right, let's check it out. There we go. I just recorded that in, and I can now hear a big difference between the one I just did and one of the other tracks. Listen to how much difference there is in brightness and the gain. All right, so here's the one we just did. So in this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sounds I'm recording all at once, which I can then blend together. And this is a really crazy experiment because it has so many layers and levels to it. But that's track number 1. But I'm going to try to play another part so I can build a full arrangement of the song. Let's try it out. Okay, I want to record a new guitar part, but I want to talk to you about something real quick. If I was doing this in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or maybe into the 80s, I would have limited tools in terms of what would change the sound and give me a very different sound. And I'm talking about the knobs on the guitar, or the knobs on the amp, or the microphones that are placed in front of the amp. These are the basic tools that would have been used, especially in the times of recording the early Zeppelin records. They would have gone straight to moving a mic or changing guitars or a combination of things, a different amp even. But what I need to do right now is change guitars so that I can play this next part. Here we go. Oh my God, look at this thing. It's a 12-string Gibson double neck guitar, Jimmy Page special, but it's not Jimmy's, it's not mine. I could not find one of these for the life of me. I called Gibson, I called Norm's Rare Guitars. Nobody has these things, but you know who did have one? Paul Stanley. Paul Stanley loaned this guitar to me for this video. Paul, you are a wizard. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna play it on this tune. Let's give it a go. All right, let me try to add a Paul Stanley Sunburst double neck 12-string part to Donkey Problems. Yes, try to say that sentence. It's very, very tricky. Here we go. Okay, let's dissect this 12-string part and maybe manipulate it and get some different sounds out of it. I'm going to listen only to the 57 right now, and it sounds like this. So what I like about it is it's got a honk to it, it's got some distortion, it might have too much distortion, but sometimes a different kind of distortion that's additive can bring out some clarity. It's like a saturation thing. So what I'm thinking of trying is listening to the line out that I recorded, blended with the 57, and see if we get a different attitude and character. Let's hear this. So part of that is reminding me of one of the songs from Led Zeppelin 2, Livin' Lovin' Maid. Listen to just the 12-string line out recording right here, just soloed up. It's got fuzziness. It's the direct sound, like going into a console without a speaker, distorted. That's pretty cool. Now I'm going to add the talkback mic, which is this one here, and it's the U48 behind the amp. Let's hear that added in. It's starting to give it a hollowness in a cool way. It's like hearing a bit behind, but you have the depth of the room here. So I'd like to hear that one just by itself, just because I know it's going to sound weird. And then maybe we will play with the reamping for just a second. Yeah, that's behind me. What's different about using mics and placing them in different places in the room and on the speakers is you can create a depth and have this nuance and attitude and detail to the sound that you would otherwise have to try to do by manipulating it later with EQ and reverb and short delays and stuff like that. Here, you're just capturing it at the source. And as I was saying before, if I wanted to change one part of these 5 tracks, I could go ahead and reamp that and get a different amount of gain. I could make it way more distorted or even cleaner. So let's say I want to make it cleaner on this 57 microphone. Let's see what that sounds like if I reamp that. I'm going to try it right now. And got to flip this switch. Here we go. Let's hear what it sounds like. I'll just let it play and I'll make some changes as it goes. So I decided instead of it being cleaner, I made it even more distorted. And now, just for fun, I'm going to try to hear what the EV356 shotgun mic sounds like with that. It's going to sound probably a little bit more nasally, more mid-rangey. All these textures I'm hearing, I wouldn't be able to do with just a single microphone. I could use one amp and get different sounds recording on different tracks, but I'm recording multiple tracks at the same time and blending them to get layered sounds. And there's all kinds of weird differences in the mid-range and the high frequencies. So it gives me a very wide palette. And this is the kind of experiment, the deep dive that I really was interested in with this amp, because I feel like it's all about creating unique sounds, one-of-a-kind sounds that will work for your songs. And so far, this thing really does all the Jimmy Page style things that I think when I listen to his playing and the attributes that go into his songwriting, arranging, the sound of bringing some of the room in with the amp, this is exactly the right tool for that job. And I'm going to take this a little further with the next little part that I'm going to play. I'm going to have to just switch to some other guitar that's very boring and has nothing cool about it, you know. Oh, this old thing. Oh, this is the sitar my dad played on Shut Up and Play Your Sitar. All right, now listen, I'm going to go ahead and play a sitar part on Donkey Problems, because why not? Let me give it a go. like there's a little bit of a George Harrison thing happening, which I'm okay with. I really like George's playing, and a sitar feels good on this song. But the one thing that's missing is one more heavy rock part. I'm gonna get this real honky, weird sound, and it's gonna be able to just sit in a corner of the mix. And that's what I'm gonna do next, so let's give it a go. Okay, I have the Jimmy Page Les Paul back for a new part I wanna try. And I wanna use an out of phase sound. This guitar has these switches under the pickguard that gives me a chance to put it out of phase, but it also has series parallel and all kinds of other options, probably 20 different sounds this guitar will make. But I'm looking for something that will be clean, but mid-rangey, and also work well with the chord voicings, because I have a kind of an oddball part that I'm doing, and I really need it to cut through the mix, which is why I want to try the out of phase. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try the different bits of gain on the amp to see how far I need to go. But here's what it sounds like right now, the lowest amount of gain. And I got a part that's going to sound like this. See how that has this kind of honky sound to it, which is going to cut through in a good way. But let me go to the max gain, see if I need it. It sounds good, but I think it's too much. How about midway? It's good, but I feel like this one will be better on the lower gain. It'll just cut through and be chimier. Let's give it a try. I'm going to go ahead and play the part in the song. Here we go. All right, I feel like that was pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and listen to that for a second. Kind of rushed it at the end, but it's still a pretty cool sound for the song. This is what I love about this amp. My whole purpose of doing the demo this way is to try to get any of the EQ or the gain from the amp. Don't use any EQ after the fact. I only want the personality of this to be recorded straight through the microphones, giving you probably the biggest representation of the personality of this particular amp. And I really like the fact that I have some different sounds that are giving me part of the room in different places. So I've already heard textures from this amp that I wouldn't hear from other amps, and also just because of the way I'm recording it. So that being said, I do have one more idea that I'd like to record with this setup, but I'm going to have to use the Jimmy Page Dragon Telecaster. Let's switch to that guitar, see how that goes. Here it is, the Dragon Telly. I borrowed this one from Mike Tempesta. Thank you so much, Mike. All right, here's a little bit of information. The first record, Led Zeppelin 1, was mostly recorded with this guitar. Not this one, because of course this is a replica, but a Telecaster, and he was playing through his Supro style amp. Now this little tiny amp right here, the NYMPH, is not an exact replica of the bigger brother, the one that was basically the Supro. This gives you even more options. So the thing is, I'm going to try to match this telly with this for a new part on the song. I want it to be jangly, but I do need a little bit more gain than the last sound I used. So let's see where we are right now. So it's very jangly already, but I need more gain. So I'm going to use this switch here just to give me the next boost up. That sounds good, but how about more gain? I'm going to go with more gain. All right, I'm going to give it a go. Well, let's see what that sounded like. I felt like it was a good sound for it, but if I do need to change it, without even replaying it, I could re-amp it with the GB tracker. Let's check and see if it's good enough. I feel like that's good. I'm going to keep that. So here's the cool thing about this amp. I have been using just this amp to get all kinds of different textures, distortion, clean sounds, somewhere in between, using different microphones to get a different personality of the amp and use some of the room. But the beautiful part is that when I'm playing all these parts, even at this very low volume, it feels like a big amp. And when I hear it in the track, it records like a big amp. But it also has that unique thing of being able to just fit right into where the guitars should sit in a mix. So this is a very good tool for anybody that records guitars. It's the Swiss Army knife so far. I'm really liking what it does. Character, personality, and it has a lot of detail and nuance, which of course, that's great in the studio. Okay, everybody, the nymph has completed her mission. Oh, the sweet baby nymph. She needs to come back to me. She will. I know she will. All right, let's move on to the big brother. This is the special recreation. This is a meticulously built version of Jimmy Page's actual Supro amp, which apparently at one point had fallen off a truck and it had to be rebuilt, and it wasn't a stock Supro anymore, so it had different parts. They went through all of that stuff and they painstakingly recreated it wire by wire, diode by diode, and here it is in the studio for me to check out. This thing is exactly what he used for the early records, and I've got a telly that is very much like what he used on the early records. Now let's go ahead and see what kind of sound this makes. Clearly different things are happening on this panel here. We have lost the little switch that was the three-way gain stage that the Nymph had, but this one gains a special circuit here for a tremolo, which you could change the intensity and the speed. We'll get to that later. I want to just hear the main rock circuit, see if we can get it to sound like the first album, straight out of the box, guitar straight in. Let's just see what it does. Here we go. All right, I already hear that it doesn't have as much gain as the Nymph, but maybe that is exactly the way this amp sounds, according to everything I've heard about it. This is supposed to be exactly like the original amp. So the Nymph shows that it has become its own beast. It does more things, but this is the classic. So let's try to get some classic sounds out of it. I'm going to play again and hear the tone circuit now. Let's turn the volume back up. Tone circuit. Got the vibe, I'm feeling it. Let's play some non-demonetized Pagian scale influenced riffs now. How about something like... Feeling it. This is pretty cool. I like that I'm using the same mics that I used on the other amp, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get some nuanced sounds with this thing. I might as well play some of the same parts that I played on the other song. You know, this... Let me try it in the track. Here we go. Okay, so we've heard the tremolo and it sounds great. I'm going to turn it down. I've only been playing rhythm parts up until now, so I think I need to start digging into some lead sounds, see what this does, and maybe I'll pull out the Sundragon, the loudest amp on earth. Let's see what that does. Okay, I'm back with the Les Paul. I'm going to see how interactive it is with this amp. I want to get a lead sound for a new riff and possibly a solo. But let's just hear what happens when I start turning some of these knobs and get a feel for the tone and the variety of sound that comes from this guitar. So here we go. So it does a lot of stuff. I feel like that's going to be a good sound to go for the heavy riff. It's going to be a chromatic style riff. It kind of has a Black Dog kind of vibe in a way. Let's check it out. That sounded good, so I'm going to try a harmony, but when I play a second part on this riff, I need a different texture, so it's going to be slightly more honky, maybe a little bit more distorted in a different way, because I want it to sit on the other side and have its own personality. So I'm only going to use the bridge pickup in this weird configuration on this guitar right now. Even though it's in the middle, I don't have the neck pickup on at the moment. So let's see what it sounds like. Call me crazy, but I feel like I want to explore a third harmony and just expand on what might be possible. Could be too much. That is always the case. But Jimmy Page, he experimented a lot and he was a master at orchestration. So we don't know. Maybe this will be good and maybe it won't. But let's give it a try. Turn up the volume. Here we go. Tried it and I liked it, but let's see if it makes it to the final mix. All right, moving on, it's time to try to play some solo sounds with this amp. This standard Sundragon is the identical version of his Supro amp. I've got the Les Paul still. One of the things that made Jimmy's guitar playing so great was the nuance, the details. He talked about the light and the dark, the shades of both being part of music and part of the personality that his playing has. He imbues that into the music through the instrument. I would like to try to get a sound that reminds me of the textures and flavors that I like in his playing, even though I really don't sound like him when I play. But let's see if having this guitar and this amp makes me sound a little bit more like him when I play a simple kind of standard rock lick like this. See, if I make that out of phase, it's going to be more Jimmy Page. I like that. I'm going to go with it. Let's give it a try now. I think that was the one. I made sure to play in the Pagian mode the whole time. Terrible. Okay, we've been in this for a while now. We have heard the Nymph, which is the smallest Sundragon, and now the Standard. We've played that a lot, but there's one more, the Supdragon. I wonder what that sounds like. No, the amp. I want to hear the amp. And I have a super heavy riff that needs more teeth. You know, this one. I need to hear the Supdragon on this. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Will it be the meanest sound of them all? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, when the gods of rock graced the stage, they had something like this, weighing in at over 9,000 pounds and a thunderous volume, so that the lonely working class man 10,000 rows in the back could still climax to the sound of Jimmy Page's guitar, and Jimmy played just for him. Yes. That is loud. That is probably over 120 dB in the room, and I'm going to show you because I have a dB meter later. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have to try this amp out because we've tried all the other ones, so let's see if I can play the heavy-duty riff that I was playing earlier, this chromatic kind of thing, and see if this nasty guitar will sound just as big through this as it did with the small amps. All right. Here's just a little test. That's like making the hair just stand up, and I'm being rattled to the core. Massive volume. All right, I'm gonna have to play it in the track. Let's try it. That was fun and loud. Well, now that I've been neutered by sheer volume, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new part. Let's do it. Oh, it is so loud, but it feels so good. I wish you could feel it. It's shaking the room. It feels like I'm sitting in the middle of an earthquake, and Jimmy Page is going, yes, it's good. He must have had such a good time on stage with just the sheer power and volume that this amp creates. I love it. Now, I need you to see how loud it truly is. So I'm going to set up a dB meter and play something for you. Check it out right now. Okay, we've recorded all of these amps, and I've gotten to know the personality and the charisma that is built into each of these machines. The only way I can really do a demonstration of that is to use a dB meter and a microphone that is across the room. I want to replicate the feeling of what would it be like if you were going to hear, let's say, the Sundragon, and you were in the front row of a concert. It would be hitting you in the face and it would be super loud. That's why we are going to try this experiment in this scientific way. And just to give you a perspective on the dB meter, every 10 dBs is exponentially louder. It's not just like, oh, it's creeping up and creeping up. It's creeping up like an earthquake on a Richter scale. The volume increase is massive. So let's go ahead and give this a try so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, it's time for the Sundragon, and the hum that you're already hearing is the amp telling us it's pissed off and ready to attack. All right, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna play, and we're gonna see what the dB meter says. And by the way, it can't register anything above 130 because it starts setting off an alarm telling us to leave the premises. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's at 130. It probably went past 130, but we don't need to know what that is because we already know that's the danger zone. But it's the power of rock. I think that went well. Oh, the sadness is setting in, ladies and gentlemen. Little Dweezil is crying tears because he won't be able to play at stadium rock volume anymore, and he won't be playing Paul Stanley's guitar anymore because he has to give it back. Thank you so much, Paul. This guitar really made the day and made this video, and it has that vintage guitar smell. If you know, you know. All right, well, let's just recap. Sundragon amplifiers have many things for you to choose from. They have you covered from the stadium to your bedroom. This thing is as loud as it can possibly be, but it's also quite open. A lot of headroom. It can be beautiful in the clean tone area, but the standard has the exact tone of Jimmy's actual amp, the Supro. And then you have the NYMPH, which is arguably the most versatile of all of them, and it goes all the way down to just a 1/4 watt. So you saw how loud these things were, you heard the character of all the different sounds, how they work in a mix, how they work, just the feel and how they resonate with the instrument you're playing. And that brings me to the final thing that I will be playing for you. I have a special outro, and I have to thank Chris Novoselic and Ryan Brown for playing on this music for me. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe and tell me what else you'd like to see. All right, let's go into the outro, and I'm gonna go into outer space, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you there.